I'm Mark Irons in Vermont. Natural beauty abounds here in the Green Mountain State. According to a 2021 CNBC survey, Vermont is the most welcoming state and best place to live, ranked #1 among the 50 states. But look closer. Are all people here truly welcomed and even given a chance to live?
There's just no regard for the life of an unborn child at any stage of development here in this state. And it's really appalling.
For decades, Sharon Toborg, a policy analyst with Vermont Right to Life, has been tracking legislation coming out of the Vermont State Capitol building in Montpelier, just down the street from her office. Some laws have changed as the seasons come and go, but one thing has remained.
Since 1972, we've had unrestricted abortion throughout pregnancy here in Vermont.
Throughout all 9 months?
Throughout all 9 months.
To put that in perspective, Toborg says most states, including places like California and New York, have at least some regulations on the books regarding abortion. Vermont has none. It may come as no surprise that in another survey, this one by Americans United for Life, ranking the 50 states with the most protections for unborn children, Vermont comes in last place.
There's just no movement whatsoever to be more pro-life.
Pro-life state representative Republican Vicki Strong has tried to propose some basic measures in the State House, like the need for abortion facilities to meet certain standards or a requirement for parental consent before a minor can obtain an abortion. But she hasn't had success.
All of those bills get a number and a name and they go to a committee, but the committee will never take those bills up.
Pro-lifers say Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, has a strong influence on state politics. The current Vermont Speaker of the House, Jill Krowinski, was a former high-ranking employee of the organization.
Vermont actually has the most Planned Parenthoods per capita in the United States.
Toborg says recent numbers show Planned Parenthood administers 90% of the state's abortions. And though Vermont is one of the least populous states, there were 1,195 abortions in 2019. There is help for women in crisis pregnancies. Vermont has 9 pro-life pregnancy resource centers compared to 10 abortion facilities. But the majority of abortions around the U.S. are now self-induced by ingesting pills, so locations for surgical abortions may not be in high demand. Citing the need to ensure the organization is sustainable, Planned Parenthood announced it will close 4 of its locations in Vermont.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, Roe v. Wade has got to go!
But there won't be any change in state law, even if the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade. Vermont has already secured unrestricted abortion.
We will pass Prop 5.
And now pro-abortion lawmakers want to go a step further by adding Proposal 5, being called the Reproductive Liberty Amendment, to the Vermont State Constitution.
And I can think of no better way to show our commitment to personal reproductive liberty and justice than a constitutional amendment.
The proposed amendment reads that an individual's right to personal reproductive autonomy is central to the liberty and dignity to determine one's own life course and shall not be denied or infringed unless justified by a compelling state interest achieved by the least restrictive means. Prop 5, also referred to as Article 22, is going on the ballot this fall, and Vermont voters will have the final say if it gets added to the state constitution.
It doesn't really say anything. It says a lot, but it doesn't say anything. There's very little specific about it.
Bishop Christopher Coyne of the Diocese of Burlington says the Prop 5 language is intentionally vague and was crafted to leave out the word abortion.
They're not going to include the word abortion because they know if they do, they open up. It's like you're opening up a veil. You're taking a veil away on what they're actually trying to do.
The Diocese of Burlington covers the entire state of Vermont, and the Catholic Church, alongside groups like Vermont Right to Life, is now trying to educate voters on what Proposal 5, Article 22 is and what it could do.
The purpose is to enshrine abortion rights in the Vermont Constitution so that Vermont's statute that guarantees abortion throughout pregnancy cannot be changed.
It turns out making unrestricted, unregulated abortion access a permanent fixture for the future of Vermont may not even be what people want. A 2020 poll from Vermonters for Good Government shows although 67% of the state considers itself pro-choice, more than 50% of the population favors some kind of abortion restrictions, such as parental consent for minors, safety regulations for abortion clinics, or the requirement to inform women about alternatives to seeking abortion. Proposal 5 does not include any of those measures, and the amendment text is being criticized as well. Besides not mentioning abortion, it doesn't mention women, only an individual's right to personal reproductive autonomy that shall not be denied or infringed unless justified by a compelling state interest. Could unethical practices and interpretations follow?
It talks about reproductive rights, so to speak. What does that mean? It can mean anything as the future unfolds. So it just opens the door, in my mind, to a Pandora's box of unlimited types of scenarios that aren't even thought of yet.
Personal reproductive autonomy.
We took a printout of the proposed amendment language out on the streets and asked Vermonters if they would support it.
I would vote against this, probably.
Why?
It's just confusing.
Most people didn't want to speak on camera, but we did hear from a few.
I am very much in favor of personal autonomy, especially for women and anyone in a reproductive situation.
If I saw this on the ballot, I would probably not vote on it because I would need some more clarification because I don't understand what it's asking me.
Maybe this unclear language is meant to sort of make it more appealing to a broader section of voters.
So now the work to educate voters on Proposal 5 ramps up here in the Green Mountain State.
Whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, there are good reasons to oppose this amendment.
It would prevent any future legislation. So people need to just know the truth.
This is just a bad law. It's not just about because it allows for abortion without restrictions, which is already there anyways. It's a bad law because it allows for so many other possibilities.
Mark Irons, EWTN News In Depth.